Hello, my beautiful friends, and welcome to our Leo new moon discussion for this beautiful, really empowering, really centering new moon in Leo that we are going to be having on August 8th. 8-8. What an auspicious date. It's a special day. I know many of you already have done your research and reading about this special day at the heart of Leo season, Lion's Gate. Very, very potent energy. But as usual, I have my own way of seeing and working with this energy that I think is really important this time around. Not to toot my own horn too much, right? But this new moon is going to ask us to get back to some really powerful basics. And I'm excited about it. I'm very excited to work with this energy and reset and really listen in. And that's one of the first things I want to mention before we get into the larger discussion about this new moon. Leo energy is so often tied to things like decadence and excess and ego. And believe me, I love a good meme. I love a good sense of humor about any of these archetypes. We gotta have fun with it. No point taking ourselves too seriously. However, Leonine energy gets misrepresented. That's one facet of it, I would say, but it's not really the core of it. The core of Leonine energy is about heart-based living, childlike joy, and listening into our heart. And the only way we can do that, right? The only way we can hear our heart, hear our soul song, hear that deep inner hum, that deep inner knowing that nudges and guides us, is by getting back to basics, getting really calm, getting really centered, not worrying about outside validation, outside appearances, performing a role, right? Being in performance mode. It's about getting back to this authentic place. And what I mean by authenticity is really just being okay with sitting with yourself in the quiet. And actually, I think Leo energy often asks that of us. And of course, it also asks us to listen into our inner creative child, our inner free spirit. Anytime you're working with Leo or Aquarius axis, you are being asked to get back to your true spirit. And one of the only ways we can do that is if we sit still enough to hear that, right? We can't distract ourselves into authenticity with ourselves, integrity with ourselves, right? So that's the first note I just want to say, is that working with Leonine energy, whether you are a Leo, have a lot of Leo energy, or are just interested in this energy, because we're all going to work with it in one way or another in our lives. It's important to remember that at its core, it's about heart-based energy and activating the heart and listening to the heart. And it's as simple as that, really. So this new moon is going to be bringing us back to that principle and really just taking the time to do some deep breath. I really do. This is such a popular thing to say because it's true. Meditation around this new moon can be very, very beneficial. So I just highly recommend, if you can, find those little meditative practices throughout the days surrounding this new moon to really get in touch. Now, this new moon, the big aspect it's doing is a square to Uranus in Taurus. So that's going to be the main conversation undergirding this new moon. So there's a simplicity here, right? There is this clear, crisp, simple conversation going on. The sun and moon together squaring with Uranus and Taurus, and these fixed signs that are so deeply about birth and creativity, which I just love. Birthing and creativity. So good. So I wanted to bring up Uranus as well, because I think Uranus can also get misrepresented sometimes. The popular take, the take that I think is a little bit more ingrained in our catastrophic thinking culture, is that Uranus comes in to set everything on fire and cause chaos and pain. And that is a very familiar narrative, right? We think about change, we think about evolution, we think about shifts, and often that's going to be tied to some kind of trauma. And I want to kind of take Uranus back out of that. Of course, change in life can and does happen through trauma. We've all had something happen that has felt chaotic and scary, right? But I think when we want to work with Uranian energy, with Uranus's energy, in a way that serves us, we want to kind of come back to the central function again, just like I was saying with Leonine energy. The central function is about where we're noticing that we keep getting our attention turned towards something, but maybe we're a little resistant to look at it. Maybe it's a shift in the way we're doing our creative projects. Maybe it's a shift in our day-to-day routines, or in our relationships, or in our career, or it can be in any aspect of life, right? And maybe we're resistant to seeing from that different perspective, from that new vantage point. Maybe it doesn't make sense to our logical minds right away. Maybe we can't really compute it. Why do I keep getting nudged in this direction? Why do I keep getting my focus put over here? But that's what Uranus's energy is really all about. It's about seeing with fresh eyes. It's about seeing with new eyes. It's about being open to creative problem solving. And so when I'm looking at this conversation, this square, there is an asking here to get really quiet and hear that hum inside of you that is trying to get your attention to turn towards your next creative chapter, which is so exciting. And I love this conversation. Often squares get kind of a bad rap, but what I think about them is it's like this choice point almost, right? That tension is a moment to sit down and say, how am I going to connect with my path moving forward? Am I going to trust this nudge inside of myself, or am I going to stay a little cynical and a little held back? And that's just one example. I mean, each of us is going to have our own choice points, our own questioning of what's going to be our right path, right? And maybe our own creative vision that we need to let in, because this new moon is trying to get us to see the creative vision that we maybe are resisting because we feel we don't deserve it, or we feel it doesn't make sense, or we feel it's too chaotic or too surprising, or we feel like, or maybe we just literally haven't been able to quite see it yet, because sometimes those breakthroughs, those ideas just hit, right? And it takes a little while for them to come through. This moon is really preparing for that. One other thing I wanted to say, this is about creative opening of that, the creative eye opening and seeing clearly. There being unexpected breakthroughs. There being kind of elements coming together, connecting, making sense. One of the other messages, though, that came through, and I think this is with the Leo-Taurus energy that is getting activated here in this new moon, this is a message that just really connects with this, which is slow down. Slow down. I was recently on a road trip. I was the driver. I had to do a lot of driving. And I'm a cautious driver, I would say. I tend to go like a little slower, not like extreme slowness or anything, just a little slower. I tend to like to go, at a nice leisurely pace. But on that road trip, I was just surrounded by so many people rushing. I have to get there. I have to get to the other side of town. I have to get to my next destination. And it was kind of this literal representation, I think, of how our culture kind of feeds into us. Like, we need to be constantly rushing and hungry for the next thing. We need to be constantly trying to garner, more money, more successes, more experiences, more. Let's run, let's go. I'm going to run around like this. And, and honestly, even in my driving, I've gotten to be very meditative, where for me, I am choosing to be in a place of calm, just taking it that little bit slower. We're not rushing around people constantly and not feeling angry that somebody's in my way. And I have a birthday wish, because my birthday isn't on this new moon. It's coming up about 10 days later. But that we all take a moment in those places where we feel so hungry for having everything done, to take a breath and come back to the center point and to calm and slow down just a little bit. This is one of the most important healing things we can do for ourselves. 5 of Cups. I do love this card. I'm gonna pull another one to go with it. And 4 of Cups. Okay. Oh, maybe I'll pull one more. I can't resist because these are very introspective cards. And 2 of Wands. All right. Very introspective cards. But yes, this moon is about slowing down enough to hear ourselves. And it doesn't have to be literally about driving. Each of us is going to have that place where we feel like we got to push, right? And we feel irritated, aggravated, overeager, grasping, stressed. And any place that you're feeling that, this is a great time to release that. To reaffirm, I am meant to live in peace. I'm meant to live from peace. I am worthy of living a little slower, a little gentler, a little more in presence with myself. And these cards are speaking to that. It's kind of like we think often, I think as humans in general, and I know I'm guilty of this sometimes, or I do this sometimes, I'd like to say, that if I just keep like running around and making myself do everything all the time, then that's going to be what's going to expand my horizons. But so often the rule is that in sitting still, in quieting down, we actually access much more of that energetic flow. So this moon is really speaking to that. And new moons so often are about connecting in, so we can hear those seeds of wisdom from the darkness that are moving us forward. And with these first 2 cards, 5 of Cups and 4 of Cups, these are really introspective cards. 5 of Cups is one of my favorite energies because it is the bridge. This is the stuff of life right here. I feel really passionate about it. This is the stuff of life right here. This is the conversation between what is lost and what is gained. It's the twin experience of grief and joy. The ability to feel all of our feelings. The ability to know that in changing and growing and allowing ourselves to become who we are going to say goodbye to old versions of ourselves. We are going to say goodbye to old narratives. We are going to say goodbye to parts of our lives, right? As we change, but we are also going to be moving toward what is really serving us. So 5 of Cups is one of my favorite energies that ever exists. And I think in our culture, we tend to see the 5 of Cups as a very negative thing to avoid at all costs. And in my mind, this is a card to embrace as part of the knit, the weft and the weave of life. It is where creative thinking comes from. It's where joy comes from. It's being able to be with our whole selves as we are changing and growing. And, 4 of Cups kind of speaks to that as well, right? There's this opportunity wanting to come in, and it can be really tempting to look at all that's past, all that isn't available to you, all that's frustrating, all that you wish was different, right? But this moon is asking you to get quiet enough to hear for that 4 of Cups, or that 4th cup, right? And so both of these are saying, you might be listening in a specific direction. You might be kind of girding yourself like, I know this is where I need to be focusing and listening my attention. But this new moon is going to say, calm down, listen in, and you may be surprised by where your answers are coming from, by where your solutions are coming from, and even by where the road is wanting to open up ahead of you. So relax, let yourself be. It's okay. Excuse me. And in that rest, in that slowdown, we come to the 2 of Wands, the opening of horizons, the opening of pathways, the opening of the road. The 2 of Wands so often makes me think of a gateway or a door, and standing there and taking in the unimaginable horizon, all these things that are ahead of you that are hard to visualize because there's just so many. There's friendships and projects and things you're going to taste or look at or read that you don't even know exist, right? You have no idea these people or these experiences exist yet. And the 2 of Wands is that space where you start to see little inklings of it. And once again, how do we access that place? We don't access it by manically going around trying to do every spiritual practice and trying to be everything to everybody and making forcing ourselves to do all X, Y, and Z, everything from A to Z. We do it in slowing down. We do it in listening in. We do it in hearing our full selves, including the parts of ourselves that are maybe in grief, maybe in confusion. Understanding that doesn't encompass our whole being. It's not going to take us under, but that it's actually going to show us the way. And that there is so much joy to be had in simplifying down. And so this new moon is really giving you the permission to slow down. Let yourself be simple and soft this new moon. Give yourself the opportunity to listen inward. Listen to that heart. This is one of my favorite messages to share and work with. It's one I forget often, actually, funnily enough. I have to come back to it every day. Because there's so much pressure generally in our culture to do it this other way, from the outside in. And it's nice to have that reminder that it's okay, that we shine our brightest, that we can make the most impact, that we can be our most beautiful, influential, leading edge selves from a place of softness and quiet. And that just makes me so happy, because that's just the stuff of life to me. So I hope this new moon is full of support for all of you. I'm going to be doing a really lovely activation over on my Patreon where you can hang out with me. I also recently just did a little reading featuring my husband. So if you're looking to kind of see into the window of my little world, Patreon's a great way to do that. And I love to support you all over there as well as here, obviously. I'd love to see you all here in the coming weeks as we move into the later part of 2021 and the magic that is this part of the year. This chunk of the year to me is so powerful and I love it. So I would love to see you here, and I will leave all of my links everywhere to find me in the description box. And I hope you have a gorgeous new moon, my friends, and I'm sending you my love.